Hey everyone, Ryan here, or MandRproductions, and welcome to my review of the LEGO Marvel Infinity Saga 76193, the Guardians ship, aka the Benatar. It includes 1,901 pieces, and within those pieces is 6 minifigures. They look pretty good there. We'll take a look at those up close and personal here in a moment. Now, the set in the US costs $150, and for the piece count, that seems spectacular. And even for what you're getting, this feels like a $200 UCS set for LEGO Star Wars, but is somehow 150. So I feel like it's already worth the 150 without even having had to build it, but we'll certainly go a bit more in depth on that later in the video if you want to find out what I think about that. And hopefully this video will help you make a better purchasing decision. If you do end up deciding to buy this, make sure you use my affiliate links in the description below. Oh, and I should mention that this set doesn't release until August 1st in the United States, but is already available in Europe. Very cool Lego. Now, on the box, we have Thanos on the top right with his gauntlet. Of course, the Guardians ship just flying through space looks absolutely beautiful on the front of the box, and the back of the box will be more of the same as we flip it around here. You'll also notice that this is primarily a display set. Like I said, it's basically a UCS set. Surprisingly though, no display plaque. That's kind of the only thing this I feel like might be missing. We'll touch a little bit more on that later, but looks great there. You can see you'll be able to spin 360 degrees on the stand. We'll talk more about that later as well. And you can see some highlight boxes showing off some of the different features and areas of the Guardians ship there. So I'm going to open this up, I'm going to build it, and I'll be back with the minifigs right now. The first minifig we'll take a look at, and honestly the most disappointing minifig here, is the Chitauri. I think he would have been much better off being replaced with someone like Drax, or maybe even another character. You can comment down below if you think there was a better fit, but certainly the Chitauri just feels out of place in a set like this. It feels like it was added so that they could still say, hey, look, this is a play set and this has some conflict, when it wasn't necessary at all. Nobody was going to say a word if they didn't include a Chitauri. So that's my 2 cents on it. Maybe you feel differently, maybe I'm completely wrong, but that's the way I feel. The figure itself looks fine for being a Chitauri though. Next, we have the beautiful Thor minifigure. He's got his red cape. I love his hairpiece. It's one of my favorite LEGO hairpieces now after having Thor in this summer 2021 wave. I love the hairpiece. He's got his Stormbringer axe, which admittedly looks a little bit odd with the carrot piece being used for the wood there, but nonetheless makes sense. And then removing the hairpiece will reveal a second face on the other side with some lightning coming out of his eyes. Very cool there, and certainly one of my favorite minifigs in the set. Here we have Star-Lord, and this is the first time I've ever had Star-Lord with his custom blasters. I actually didn't know they had made these for him, and it makes me kind of jealous because, like, they didn't make a custom Darksaber for Star Wars, but these are really great for the Infinity War saga here. They look awesome. Very accurate to what we see in the movie. His print is awesome in this set as well. Super detailed. Could have maybe used a little bit of a waist print and maybe even a little leg printing, although the dual molded legs do add a lot as they are. Got a very nice hairpiece with a little bit of hair kind of flipping down there, and he does have 2 faces. Unfortunately, you can see a little bit of that beard stubble peeking through on the back, but that's not a huge deal. And that second facial expression is one that seems much happier. I also kind of like how they pushed his eyebrow down below his hair there. Kind of interesting. Here we've got our Groot minifigure. He's got printing like crazy on the front. The back, not quite as much. I feel like, you know, customizers have kind of ruined it for me where they'll go in and they'll have the whole print down the back and side of the legs and everything. But this is a very good figure for what LEGO typically produces and is more than passable in this set. This is an excellent figure. Of course, the custom mold for his headpiece there so that he's got like the tree stump part of his head. Great figure overall. Maybe could have benefited from a little arm print or something, but still very nice Groot. Our next minifigure up is Mantis, and she looks really great. Obviously, the antennae coming out of her head look like they're actually coming out of the headpiece, and it kind of confused me, even though I already built this. And it looks like they're coming out of the actual head, but no, if you remove this, it's all just one rubbery piece that has the antennae kind of built into it. So love that hairpiece, and while we're at it, actually, I'll show you the second face. Just kind of very calm look there, but yeah, great character, and one that I think a lot of people will be happy with in this set. Our final character here is Rocket Raccoon. You can see goggles printed onto his head. He's got a nice smirk underneath his nose there. His tail uses a more rubbery formula so that it actually has some give to it, so you don't have to worry so much about it maybe snapping off. His actual headpiece, though, is just the regular hard Lego plastic, and he's got a crazy looking blaster there. So overall, a great figure selection with 6 minifigs. It's just unfortunate that we don't get someone like Gamora or Drax in this set as well, which would have been very fitting, at least from what I've been watching in Infinity War and Endgame. So here's a look at the finished finished product in hand. And the first thing you may notice is that it has a very large display stand with a very interesting design. They actually do something a little bit different and special here with these two secondary supports. Usually with most sets, it would really just have kind of an A design, but they've really given this one a little bit of extra flair with that kind of off angle. And I really like the way that it turns out because I think it matches the wingspan of this ship nicely and kind of the way that this is shaped. It's just something a little bit different. Now there's actually Technic rods running up and into the ship here, so you don't have to worry about it falling off too much, and it's not easily removable, although it is certainly removable. Just like anything, it's Lego, you can take it apart if you really want to, but that's not what it's really made to do. Now, I'm not a huge fan of gray and brown being mixed in, same with the blue. Like, this could have been an all black design, but they don't make those pieces in the black colors, unfortunately, so it doesn't really match, but it is rotatable along the stand. Now, depending on which surface you have it on, you'll notice the stand will be dragged along sometimes too, so you may have to hold it down, but you can spin this thing around 360 degrees as you please, and it's very nice. It's actually a very strong stand, so you don't have to worry about it breaking or anything on you. Now, the only downside of this is essentially a UCS set, right? I mean, that's what it is. It's just not Star Wars, so it's not UCS. And UCS sets, like the B-Wing right there, would usually get a plaque with the build. Same with the Slave one there. You can see a display plaque. And that's kind of what this is missing. It's missing a display plaque. There's clearly an empty space here where one could go. Lots of empty Technic pins here, which don't look so good on the front. It feels like they kind of made this lackluster on purpose so that it isn't a UCS set. It's kind of weird to think that, but that's where I just keep coming back to, that they left something out there on purpose. So odd thing to think about, but that's basically the stand in a nutshell. Beautiful stand though, works great. Now, into the actual ship. I think they've got the shaping and everything down about as perfect as you can get without going any bigger than this, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Now you have this purple windshield piece on the front, and it's slightly translucent. I mean, it is translucent, but in the dark purple, it becomes very hard to see through. You'll see what I'm talking about later when we compare this to one of the older versions of this ship. But nonetheless, the printed detail on it is phenomenal. It's actually a little bit more intricate than the previous version, so that works out rather nicely. And you can actually open this up either individually or with the entire front panel here to access the pilot's seat, which has a couple of control pieces there that you can work with. And there's actually a second little pilot seat here at the front that you can make use of. So you can see if we pull this off, you get a little bit easier access to this, but not so much that. And with Rocket and Star-Lord placed in there, you can see it's a bit of a tight fit, but they fit nicely, and it's not something you really have to worry about. You can still close everything up, no problem. Opening it up like this makes it way easier to see them and move them around as you please. And technically they do kind of give Rocket a little bit of a control panel right here with these translucent pink pieces, so if you want to look at it that way, that's kind of cool. But yeah, you also may notice the ship does wobble a little bit. That's just gonna be the way it works, unfortunately. We'll take a look at more of the interior here in a second, but I do want to show more of the exterior, which is just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, the gray and the orange mixed together so well. They've done such a beautiful job with it. Even the underside of this mixes really well. Sometimes the underside of builds like this, where they can really be super detailed on the top, they kind of lose the touch on the bottom, but no, in this case, I feel like it really carries over nicely. And you can see they added in the thrust on the bottom. This will be on both wings here, the thrust for the Benatar. And with these wings, they are very strong. You can see a little error there with my sticker placement. Couldn't get that to go back down after I had to rip it up, but the sticker's a nice detail nonetheless, and maybe you could even do a better job applying it. So the wings actually have these panels on either side that can drop down very accurately. Maybe that's a little bit too far, maybe just one down makes a little bit more sense there. And you can see you can definitely play around with the orientation of this thing. This larger panel on top does not move. It's hardwired into the build. It's not going anywhere, but these bottom panels do move. There's also some small flaps on the underside of the engines at the back here that can drop down. Nothing else on the back on either side of the wings here is going to be moving. Now, also working along the outside, there's a couple other flaps and panels that can open and close as you please, which is really awesome. This thing is super detailed with all of the moving parts, but honestly, I like keeping it all nice and tidy and closed up. And then finally, I guess I should show you that under here, there's even more engine thrust coming out. So pretty crazy exterior on this particular set. So as we look to the top of the midsection, you can see more beautiful design. I mean, it looks absolutely gorgeous, so nicely tiled off in so many places too. I love it. You can see the sharp tiling here with these triangular pieces at 45-degree angles, help create a very nice sharp paint job for the thing. And then you also have what I think is the hatch there, done with a sticker. So obviously you won't be using that, but that is there, unless that's not the hatch, in which case I'm just completely wrong. My bad. On the back, you can see some clear pieces here. We'll get to what these two pieces or panels really do here momentarily. More engine detailing on the back of the ship, and you can just see how beautiful and how wide that wingspan is when you pull back there, and it's taking up most of the table there. And then these two large engine pieces at the back can actually separate. You can move them out, and it's actually one of my favorite aspects of the ship. Not that you can move them out, but the way in which that they do with these particular pieces here. So you'll see they've got these small, basically droid arms, and they've got these very large rods here. And you can see as you move them in and out, while these aren't what's really supporting this, the whole assembly just moves together. Perhaps the biggest downside to all of this is where you have these panels look like they're actually separating from the piece, and you have this gap here. So that's kind of unfortunate that that wasn't able to be solved, but the rest of it is all nice and tidy. You can see some sticker detailing with like some riveting on the ship in a lot of places. That's something that's really common on this one, more on the top of the wings here. Definitely the main stickers that you get. There are quite a few stickers in this set. There are two panels on the top, which are pretty meaningful because they're how we get to the interior. So you can take this one off really easily. You can see just a few studs holding it on, and same for this bigger section here. There's some yellow lights for the interior at the front and the back. You can see some control panels with a lot of nice details there. I'm sure there might even be some Easter eggs on there that some of you might be able to pick out. Certainly I cannot, as someone who's not super into the superhero stuff, but I've seen the movies a couple of times. You can see there's a eating area with a donut, and then there's going to be coffee on the other side with a red coffee cup and a little meter on the top there. So very nicely detailed on the inside. It's not the most spacious interior, unfortunately, so you're going to have a tough time getting your hands in there and using what should otherwise be easy play features. I don't really think of them as play features. They're just kind of built-in details. And then you actually have a couple of clips on the sides there, which I think are pretty good for Star-Lord's weapons. I don't think you're going to be holding the Chitauri's or Groot's weapons in here very easily, but you can get something on there. So let me fill out this interior and we'll see what it looks like. Barring the Chitauri, all the other minifigs fit in. Remember, we put Rocket and Star-Lord up here to begin with, and you can see we fit 3 more minifigs in there now. I also found a nice spot for Rocket's weapon on a clip on the side. And there's actually another clip on the opposite side of that, although I didn't really find a good use for it. I couldn't really fit Thor's hammer there. And then I also was able to put Star-Lord's weapons on the back clips. Like I said, I thought that would be a good spot, and it turns out that it is. So the interior space, while adequate, is certainly not something that you're going to be making much use of as a playset, and as you shouldn't, because this really isn't a playset. Now, of course, the sensible comparison comes to the most recent version of this ship from just like 3 or 4 years back, and it's a formidable opponent to it. Like, it's a fine set and actually looks really good as a display model too. It's just got some extra play features like stud shooters baked in there, but this one obviously dwarfs it and is so much more detailed. You can see even the purple cockpit versus the clear cockpit here, and like I said, they did add a bit more detail to that print, so it's even more accurate on this pseudo UCS model of the ship here. It's pretty crazy the differences that they've been able to bring in between these two models for what is essentially $80 more on the newer model. So pretty nice difference for the price that you're getting. And yeah, this one also has that second $20 model, whatever this is supposed to be, in the back attached. Looks kind of rough and incomplete when you take this out. So if you already owned this is a worthy upgrade between the two sets, in my opinion. And if you don't own this and you are going to decide between the two, I'd pick this every day of the week and twice on Sunday. The only downsides that I can come up with this model is that it doesn't have a display plaque, and that would have been really nice for some information about the ship and everything, because it's essentially UCS head. It's just not Star Wars, so it didn't get the plaque. That's kind of weird to me. And then you may also have a complaint with the minifig selection, but it's still a decent selection, maybe just missing a character or two that you would have otherwise desired there. But the pros to this set are enormous. I mean, obviously it's an enormous build. It's essentially a UCS set. It looks absolutely beautiful. It's a great display piece. The coloring of it is just gorgeous. The orange and the light gray are just so vibrant together, but the thing doesn't cost enough money. That's a weird thing for me to say, but for $200, wait, not $200. If I told you this was $200, you would be like, okay, that's a fair price. It's $150. I cannot comprehend how they made this thing $150 when you look at, I mean, I think of it in that way, I guess, but the competition in Star Wars where a UCS set like that is $200 every time, and this should be $200. It's 1,901 pieces. The ship is massive. It's got 6 minifigs, which in Star Wars they would tell you are a pure bonus, but here they actually make good use of the minifigures. So I don't know, man. If you're into the Marvel superheroes and you like the Benatar, I don't know why you're not buying this already. You know, this is an absolute must-buy for any fan of the Benatar as the ship or the Infinity War and Endgame movies where this is heavily featured. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below, but this is like a 10 out of 10 LEGO superhero set in my opinion. It is about as perfect as you're going to get, and I don't really have much bad to say about it other than that, you know, maybe a minifig or two and maybe a display plaque, but otherwise, like, you should be buying this set if you like it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, like the video if you enjoyed, and you can check out more LEGO Marvel Superheroes Summer 2021 set reviews on the end screen now. Thanks for watching. Peace out.